Yeah,
So that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about.
I
You can have
think
a big butt.
so.
You have a big butt, but if you don't use it properly, it's wasted.
Got to use the butt properly. That
Mm.
is that is our starting point this morning. And it is 10 o'clock. So we are with our 10 minutes of tennis at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Now Justin Yeo is on Puerto Rican time. So you are an hour in the future. So you are now the world renowned Australian tennis pro in Puerto Rico in the future. So Justin Yeo from the future. Hey,
Woo.
if you were at home in Australia, you'd be like half a day into the future. So you'd be
It's
way into the future. So
16 hours ahead from here now.
exactly. So right now you've only got an hour advantage, but give it to me. Why does everything point to your butt?
Everything. If anything, I can use myself as an example. Um, you know, your strength in your butt is so important, but what people get confused and what I have to do a lot of correcting is that when they into a squat stance, quite often they're in their legs and in their quads, which is why their quads get so sore and so tight, or their knees get sore and so tight and hurt, is because they're just not activating their glutes. And there's a couple of exercises I used to spend in the gym with a lot of people, 40s, 50s, even 60-year-olds, even golfers as well. I used to explain to them that you need to, when you do the exercise, you need to fire the glute and the VMO at the same time. The VMO muscle is your vascular medialis. It goes all the way across from the hip all the way down to the front of the knee. It's the major muscle that looks like a bulge above your knee. And that muscle there specifically, when it's driven and activated at the same time as the glute is activated, they're both not only supporting the hip, but obviously you're generating your most power, your most efficiency. You're taking off most of the pressure off your pelvis, your hip, and your knees. It even is your balance, because otherwise it all ends up on the outside of your foot. So now you got foot issues as well. So a lot of this can come all just from, weak glutes. And when I say weak glutes, it's just because they're not firing. Um, doesn't mean they have to be big. They just have to be strong and firing to be used. Um, and coaches, majority of us who stand still and feed the ball or do a lot of feeding and not a lot of hitting, lose those glutes straight away. So the knee starts to fall in because the glute's not working. And then they wonder why they're getting sore knees when they're out there doing hours and hours and hours. So your glute is everything. Your squat is everything. And if I can probably share anything after last year's conversation about 50s, 60s, even 40s and 30s, whatever you do, try to get your deep squat. Don't ever lose a deep squat because the deep squat is definitely a major factor for longevity as a tennis player. We see tennis players walk around like they've got a broomstick up their ass because their hips are so tight and they're not really using their glute anymore because everything's in the front. A deep squat will keep that range of motion in your hips, keep your glutes firing so that you're utilizing the glute. Remember, too, it's the most powerful muscle in your body. So, biggest and most powerful muscle in the body. Why not use it?
That's true. I like that. I thought was the back not the largest muscle? The back, the
Your
back
lats,
side ones
your lats,
larger.
your
But
lats would be probably the widest, or but they're not the biggest. The biggest,
okay.
most powerful muscle is your glute.
Most powerful for
Yeah,
sure. Okay. Well, in
yeah,
that case, how do we, for those of us that don't have a gym membership and we're not
yeah.
doing the squats that everybody sees in the gym, I can just do my Pilates, and that's a great way to start
Absolutely.
building my butt.
Pilates, Pilates is very functional. So Pilates actually activates all of those muscles if you're doing it correctly. Um, that's the challenge with Pilates, is that Pilates is constant, using all the muscles, and that's why it's so hard to turn them all on.
And in that case, if I can we do a lot of Pilates here. My wife is a Pilates instructor, so we intermingle the Pilates with the tennis world, with the things that we need to work on very specifically. And so to
Yeah,
be able to say, all right, everything points to my butt. I get it. Let's say I believe you. And let's say all the listeners believe you. Everybody says, fine. Well, what do? I don't have time to go to the gym. I'm just like everybody else. We were talking in the earlier conversation about everybody being maxed out right now. And right now, meaning this is a live. So we're in November of 2023. Everybody's maxed out. Everybody came out of COVID and tried to just hit the ground running, and we're struggling financially, and we're trying to figure out what to do, whether you're struggling financially or trying to build or grow or whatever it is you're trying to do. There's so much going on. So I need 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get on the mat, to take a deep breath. Really, can I combine that? It's one of the reasons why I like Pilates a lot. I can combine working on my butt to become a better tennis player, to become a stronger athlete, potentially live longer. That was also part of our earlier conversation. But then also just take a deep breath and take 5 minutes to relax and work my butt.
Easily. We got to recall some of the back problems we have is because we've got tight hips and tight quads. So if you're working the glutes, which are the opposite muscles, you can be doing, you can be doing bridges, you can be doing open thrusts with your hips, which then fire the glutes and open up what's tight in the front. There's so many exercises. I mean, I would go on Google and ask for 5-minute glute exercises at your desk. It'll be there, I guarantee you. There's so much resources that people can do to take 5 minutes to work on their glutes every day. And I mean, it's not easy. We're sitting on them right now, and if you don't use them, they just go dead. So, that's the other issue we have, is that we're all sitting way too much compared to what we used to. And since working in startups and working in some big business stuff that I do, the only thing I hurt now is my butt or my lower back, because I'm sitting all the time. I never had lower back issues. I never had a bum issue when I was coaching all the time, because I was always standing. I did have sore feet and I did have sore legs because standing all the time. But I'd rather have that than a sore back. And your glutes are the supporter of all of that. So your butt is, and I can give you a quick story on that one real quick. I won't tell you her name, but she was in like the 400 something in the world in Australia, and she wanted to be in the top 100. And we spent, I don't know, 2 years getting her down to the top 100. And very interesting, about a year in, I was sort of like, why does she look so unstable hitting the ball? Because she had this big butt. And I'm like, why is she not generating enough power either? So I walked over with a little stick, because, you can't touch a person's butt. But I worked with a stick, and I said, come on, squeeze, glute. And I mean, it was like a piece of jelly. I mean, she had big quads, and what she was doing everything in the legs and nothing in the butt. And even though the butt was there, it wasn't being activated. It wasn't big. And then when she activated, she realized she really didn't have much butt muscle underneath what was there. So, you can identify someone with a, decent sized butt and go, oh man, that must be powerful. I'm like, well, you got to check whether it's working or not, and whether there's muscle there, because she didn't have muscle. And when we changed that, it changed her night and day. And like I said, she went from like 400 to 100. And that last 12 months, it was really hard work on her butt, but it made her game. Especially one-handed backhand, best one-handed backhand I've ever seen on a female. But, she, again, didn't, I probably could say her name because she doesn't even remember anyway. It was so long ago. But anyway.
Well, yeah. And that's, I like that, because that's a difference between an aesthetic look. Again, what we were talking about ahead of the conversation. An aesthetic look is say, okay, I want my butt to look good in a picture, or are you using your butt to win tennis matches? And I think we're here listening saying, okay, I'm not looking to get the butt larger or shape it. I need it for power. I need it to be able to move well. I need that strength. And that's where the Pilates comes in. That's where the activation, as you say, of activating those muscles and getting to use them. It isn't just leg day. It isn't just arm day. Right. And that's where I go back to Pilates a lot, but that's where that all of the muscles and everything working as a group, you may look down and say, wow, they look really fit. I had a guy taking drills with me one time, and he looked really fit. He was shaped properly, and he was a bodybuilder previously. You know, he looked good, but that guy was out of breath 3 points later, and it was just, he wasn't necessarily fit. So how it looks doesn't necessarily give you what it's going to be able to do.
Right. And so I'm 50. I picked up the game at 10. For 40 years, I'm a right-hander, been hitting my forehand off my left hip, not my right glute. Okay. And so just recently turned 50, grabbed a trainer, first time in my life. And when I said, let's just do some testing so I understand everything, and then we build from there. And when he did some individually isolated glute muscle activation strength stuff. I couldn't even use my right glute. I couldn't. He was just getting me to do a stand up, one leg, and I couldn't even push off and get my right glute to lift me up. And my left one, up, down, up, down, up, down. And as soon as we found that, I was like, okay, so hang on a second. I've been hitting forehands from my left side versus my right hip, and I'm hitting it that hard. Imagine how much harder I can hit it if I'm using my right glute. So I'm doing a lot of transitional stuff now that's never been for 40 years in tennis. And so I would say to anybody, test your butt too, because it could be different on both sides, and completely and utterly change the game. Because you can imagine serve-wise too. I wasn't using my right glute. I was using my left glute to go up and rotate. And because my right glute just wasn't there. It's still like it's only just coming there now.
And there you go. That's our advice for today. Everybody, get your butt checked out.
Yep.
We'll see what we can make
It's
happen.
a bit of a negative word to say, but this is the time when you can say it. But
I'm okay. But with 2 T's. Justin Yeo, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Cheers, mate.